So we're over a month removed from the 2026 NBA trade deadline, and we've seen a decent sample size of these players on their new teams so far. So I want to kind of check in and see who's winning or maybe losing the deadline from a month ago. An encouraging winner so far has to be the Atlanta Hawks with Jonathan Kuminga. They traded away Kristaps Porzingis for Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield at the deadline, and Kuminga has a team option at the end of the year. Kristaps Porzingis was about to be an unrestricted free agent and really struggled to stay on the court for a team that really wasn't meeting its expectations this year. A lot of people thought Atlanta could be a team that takes a leap this season. They made some nice moves in the 2025 offseason. That was not the case. They traded away Trae Young. They traded away Kristaps Porzingis, and they took a flyer on Jonathan Kuminga, who is still just 23 years old, who still has some team control for the 2027 season. And it is a small sample size, and 2 of the games were against the Wizards, 1 game against the Blazers. Kuminga has looked kind of rejuvenated so far in Atlanta. He had 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in his debut game for the Atlanta Hawks. Then he had 17 points, 9 rebounds, shot 55% from the field, and was a plus 23 in game number 2. And then recently had 20 points and 7 rebounds on 70% shooting against a better Portland Trailblazers defense. And honestly, I love this move for Atlanta right now, even if Kuminga does not perform towards the end of the season, because you got somebody that's 7 years younger than Kristaps Porzingis that could be a part of your long-term plans, somebody that's 6'7", 225 pounds, that has a good touch around the rim and is a really good athlete, could definitely be a nice key part of your future, especially if he's going to adapt to Quinn Snyder's system. It was just never going to work out in Golden State. That was a bridge that was burned. So it's nice to see Jonathan Kuminga actually like basketball again so far, and we'll see how he performs during the final stretch of this year's NBA season. And on the flip side of that trade, Kristaps Porzingis going to the Golden State Warriors. He's only appeared in 1 game for Golden State so far because he's been dealing with an illness, and that's just something you got to worry about with Kristaps Porzingis right now, his lack of availability on the floor. And unlike Jonathan Kuminga, Kristaps Porzingis is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I think we're kind of past Kristaps Porzingis' career where he's going to get a nice long-term contract just because of the injury concerns so far, and somebody at his size. Kristaps Porzingis, in his only game with the Golden State Warriors, they lost by 11 to the Boston Celtics. He had 12 points, shot 55% from the field, and we have yet to see him play with Steph Curry so far. We're obviously not going to see him play with Jimmy Butler this year, and who knows, we may never see him play with Jimmy Butler if he's not even on the team next year. Steph Curry is also not going to come back anytime soon. He's getting reevaluated for another 10 days. Who knows if they're going to be able to rely on Kristaps Porzingis, because when you're watching the Warriors now, it's all the minimum guys stepping up. It's a Guy Santos, it's a Pat Spencer, it's a Brandon Podziemski, and the same issues we had in Atlanta with Kristaps this year, the lack of availability on the floor, are on display right now for the Golden State Warriors, who honestly at this point might just be better off trying to lose games and get a better draft pick for the 2026 offseason. I think one of the better pickups from the deadline so far has to be Jose Alvarado to the New York Knicks. Grand Theft Alvarado has been a breath of fresh air for the New York Knicks bench so far. In 9 games for New York, he's averaging 8.5 points, 4 assists. He is shooting 40% from the field and 31% from 3. And the Knicks are 6-3 with Alvarado in the lineup, with wins against the San Antonio Spurs, the Boston Celtics, and the Houston Rockets. And Alvarado gives them what they needed off the bench, somebody that could be another spark plug, kind of like Josh Hart, that can honestly get a big time steal, change the momentum of a game, but still be able to find open guys in the corner. Alvarado is from the Brooklyn area, so he went back home. So this is also a nice storyline as well for New York, as they're trying to go to the NBA Finals this year for the first time since 1999. And for what they gave up, Gershon Yabusele, to get Dalen Terry and then reroute Dalen Terry and a second rounder to New Orleans for Alvarado, you pay this price tag any day of the week. And I think Alvarado does have an interesting contract as well, where he's got a $4 million player option for the 2027 season. Given that he's from New York, he's a part of a contender, there's a chance he opts into that $4.5 million as well, or reworks a new deal with New York. He's 27 years old, and this deal is definitely paying dividends so far. And another deal that it's definitely paying dividends so far, James Harden getting traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland and a future second-round pick. Now, we've yet to see Garland debut for the Clippers. That's actually going to happen tonight. But on the other side of that deal, James Harden has definitely turned around the Cleveland Cavaliers season. He has made the Cavs look like a legitimate finals contender since being traded to the Cavs back in early February. January, they are 7-1 with James Harden in the lineup. And he's dealing with a hand issue right now. He did miss 2 games against Milwaukee and Detroit. Both those games they lost without James Harden. They did win Harden's first game back against the Brooklyn Nets. Since getting traded to the Cavs, Harden's averaging 19 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. He's shooting 50% from the field, 50% from 3. He's making Jared Allen, though, look like the best he's ever played with in his career. Allen is looking like maybe modern day Dwight Howard out there, catching lobs and getting passes out of the pick and roll from James Harden since getting traded. And this is really going to elevate the Cavs ceiling this year. We could see it right now with the moves they made at the deadline, with getting somebody like James Harden, who is definitely more available than Darius Garland at the moment, who can open the floor a little bit more, who's more respected as a playmaker and a ball handler. This can now make the Cavs from being maybe what was going to originally be a round 2 exit, maybe at its peak, you make it to the conference finals, but you lose there. I think the Cavs do have a chance at going to the NBA finals this year. I think it's wide open between the Cavs, the Knicks, the Pistons, and the Boston Celtics so far. And I think James Harden does elevate their ceiling this year. He's been really fun to watch in Cleveland. And this is a deal that was going kind of all in the 2026 season, as Harden is a decade older than Darius Garland. So you kind of need this deal to pay off right now, because it's probably not going to get too much better for you. You most likely got to give James Harden a new extension in the offseason at 36, almost 37 years old. So it's now or never for Cleveland. With Donovan Mitchell playing at this level, they pick up Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder at the deadline as well in the DeAndre Hunter trade. You add James Harden around these guys, this is their chance to go out and win the Eastern Conference. With the injury to Tyrese Haliburton, with the uncertainty of Jason Tatum returning, this can be the Cavs season. And if it doesn't work out, maybe they're going to regret this trade, but I think from what we've seen so far, this trade definitely unlocks another level for Cleveland when we get to the postseason. A head-scratching trade so far has to be the Philadelphia 76ers trading away Jared McCain to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a 2026 first-rounder and 3 future second-rounders. Now, the one thing Daryl Morey has done a good job at since becoming a Philadelphia 76ers top decision-maker, he's a good drafter. He's selected Tyrese Maxey late in the draft. He selected VJ Edgecombe. He's hit on the margins with some of these draft picks or undrafted free agents as well. I haven't really loved a lot of his trades or free agency signings so far. Definitely some extensions have been poor as well. And the Sixers shockingly traded away Jared McCain, a sophomore that looked like he was the rookie of the year last year before suffering a season-ending injury. This year, though, he was definitely struggling a little bit to kind of get reacclimated into Nick Nurse's rotation, but was starting to come alive as of late. And his numbers have looked so much better since getting traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was averaging about 17 minutes in Philly. He's averaging 19 minutes a night in OKC. He's gone from 38% from the field to 47% from the field, 37% from 3 to 42% from 3, and he's averaging almost double the amount of points, 6.5 to 12 points a night. Now, those will probably eventually go down now that the Thunder are getting a little bit more healthy. He played a lot of those games when Shea wasn't out there, but he's also looked good since Shea returned as well. In the win against Denver, he had 14 points. In their win against Dallas, he had 11 points playing out there with Shea. They move off each other very well. Jared McCain looks like he's a seamless fit to the culture, the vibe, and the on-court play of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they basically traded away a non-lottery first-round pick for him, who's a very cheap contract this year, in 2027, and in 2028. And when OKC is going to have to worry about the second apron with some of their players getting up there in terms of their contract dollar amount, having Jared McCain make 5% of your team's total cap space is going to be an absolute steal. And right now, the first-round pick that they sent to Philadelphia is currently projected at number 25 from the Houston Rockets. So yeah, Daryl Morey is a good drafter, and maybe he really likes this draft class long-term. I still think this is a head-scratching move from the 76ers. In hindsight, I would have traded away Quentin Grimes at the deadline and given more minutes to Jared McCain, because Quentin Grimes could leave you in a couple months in free agency, and you had Jared McCain under contract for the next 3 seasons at the minimum. And this looks like a great deal for Sam Presti. We can't fully say that this is a disastrous trade for Philadelphia until we see who they select with that first rounder and maybe those 3 future second round picks as well. But your window is right now with Paul George coming back in a little bit, with Joel Embiid playing at this level of his career, looking healthy again. Why why wouldn't you want to maximize the roster around those two? I don't get it whatsoever. Maxey's playing at an elite level as well, and now you just traded away a depth piece for a team that already had some depth issues. Yeah, this trade is looking very good for OKC so far and very questionable for Philadelphia. It's funny too because a lot of the big names that got traded at the 2026 deadline, we've barely even seen or haven't even seen at all. One of them was Jaren Jackson Jr. getting traded to the Utah Jazz in that blockbuster 8-player deal, also including 3 first-round picks going to the Memphis Grizzlies. And we saw Jaren Jackson Jr. have a cup of coffee with the Utah Jazz. He appeared in 3 games, not a lot of playing time though in the fourth quarter, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and unfortunately went down with season-ending knee surgery, so we will not see him once again for the 2026 season. This is obviously in line with the Jazz plans of trying to get a good draft pick one last time, and then we're fully going to see Jaren Jackson Jr. with Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen in 2027. As for Memphis, they haven't been a great team since this trade, which is what they wanted to be as well. They've also had plenty of injuries. I'm not all the way out on Walter Clayton or Taylor Hendricks. I still think they can be interesting long-term pieces in Memphis. And then the Washington Wizards acquired 2 former All-Stars this year at the deadline. They acquired Trae Young back in January. We still haven't seen a single minute of Trae Young in Washington. He is still out with a knee injury. Now, I do believe that we are going to see Trae Young at least once this year for the Washington Wizards. I'm not sure how many games he's actually going to play in because like Utah, Washington is trying to lose as many games as possible to get a nice draft pick one last time. So I don't think we're going to see a ton of Trae Young, although I do think we're going to see him at least play a few games before the season is over. And another big trade that went down involving the Washington Wizards was them being the surprise team for Anthony Davis. It came out of nowhere. They basically acquired 4 new players. They sent out 4 old players, and they also sent out 2 lesser tier first round picks as well. We aren't going to see a single second of Anthony Davis this year. He's out for the season with a season-ending finger injury. AD is fully under contract in the offseason, so I expect him to be playing for the Washington Wizards in October of 2026. And I'm really fascinated to see how this team looks next year with Trae Young at the 1, with Anthony Davis and Alex Sarr in the front court together. And I wonder if any of their plans change depending on how the lottery shapes out. And the Dallas Mavericks are also a tanking team right now. They're trying to lose as many games as possible. It doesn't look like they're going to buy out somebody like Chris Middleton, who came back in that Anthony Davis trade. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen a lot of the Mavericks be healthy since the deadline, since Cooper Flagg has been out with an injury. But Marvin Bagley has been a sneaky good pickup for the Dallas Mavericks so far, and I think some team is going to give him a multi-year contract this offseason. The former number 2 overall pick is actually playing some of the best basketball of his career. Same thing with the Vita Zubats for the Indiana Pacers. Like the Jazz, like the Wizards, the Pacers are trying to lose as many games as possible, and their situation is a little bit different because they traded a top 4 protected first rounder and protected 10 to 30. So if they fall between 5 and 9, their first rounder goes to the LA Clippers in the Zubats deal. Zubats is out right now with an ankle injury and has no timetable for the return. As we have seen a little bit more Benedict Mathurin in Los Angeles for the Clippers. Mathurin has appeared in 7 games for the Clippers so far. He's actually been one of the healthier additions at the deadline. Mathurin is a restricted free agent at the end of the year, so it made it a little bit more of a risky pickup for the Clippers when they decided to trade away Ivica Zubac. In those 7 games, the Clippers are 3-4. Mathurin is averaging 19 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He's shooting 39% from the field and 18% from 3. Yes, he hasn't been efficient, but when you're watching some of these Clippers games, they haven't had a true point guard because Garland is still hurt. They've not had Kawhi Leonard for all those games either, and Benedict Mathurin has been asked to do a ton. Now, you would like for him to be a little bit more efficient, 100%. I'm still intrigued about him, and I think he can have a nice month of March to maybe build up that value again. And I'm excited to watch the Clippers at full strength towards the end of the season because their season is not over. They're 28-31. They're the 19th in the Western Conference. They have no reason to try to bottom out because the Oklahoma City Thunder own their first-round pick. And I'm intrigued to see how Kawhi, Garland, and Mathurin look over the final 20 or so games. Adebayo has been an impactful trade deadline acquisition so far. He went from the Chicago Bulls to the Minnesota Timberwolves. His numbers haven't changed too much since being traded. We all knew that his volume was going to go down now that he was going to be not a top 3 scoring option at times like he was in Chicago. He is shooting 50% from the field, 38% from 3, averaging 11 points and 3 assists a night. I think you would like for him to be a little bit better at times, a little bit more aggressive. But when you were watching the Minnesota Timberwolves backcourt depth earlier in the year with Rob Dillingham and Mike Conley, you definitely take this 100% going forward. And I still think is going to be a vital part of the Minnesota Timberwolves as they're trying to win the NBA Finals this year, because they have the talent to win it all this year, and they're going to need Ayo Dosunmu to step up come playoff time. And speaking of the Chicago Bulls, we saw them kind of reshape their whole roster at the deadline as well. They traded out so many players and they brought in so many new names as well. Anthony Simons has appeared in 6 games and is shooting 43% from the field. He's averaging about 15 points a night. Colin Sexton has appeared in 9 games, shooting 45% from the field, averaging 13 points a night. Jaden Ivey's only appeared in 4 games. He's even gotten some DNPs, which is really weird because he's one of their younger players on their roster, and I thought it was a really nice pickup, just kind of a buy low, take the chance on the young guy who's going to be a restricted free agent at the end of the year. I know he's still dealing with some lingering issues, but why don't you play him as many minutes as possible just to see what you have in him? And Rob Dillingham has appeared in 9 games and is averaging 6 points and shooting 36% from the field. So I just wanted to hit on a bunch of different names that have kind of appeared or not appeared since the 2026 deadline has happened. If you want to give me your thoughts and opinions on maybe somebody I didn't mention, like a Nikola Vucevic in Boston, a Luke Kennard in Los Angeles, let me know down below. Or maybe you have some thoughts on some teams that didn't make a move at the deadline, like the Rockets or the Heat, and you think they regret that. You think any of these teams have regretted any of these moves so far? Let me know down below. Drop a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.